I'm your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpasser. Right now, I'd like to welcome in 1981 Indiana Hoosier national champion. He combined for 26 points with the legendary Isaiah Thomas. And a lot of people think that this man is why Isaiah Thomas turned out to be as great as he was. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
I think there's some place where Isaiah even said that.
Yeah, I think that I felt my nose growing while I was giving you that introduction, by the way.
Yeah, it happens.
And also, we are brought to you by Manscaped. Make sure you check them out at manscaped.com. Promo code TGT20 for 20% off your first purchase, plus free shipping. All right, we had some news come today. The Negro League records are now going to be recognized by Major League Baseball, and that means Cool Papa Bell, guys like that, Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays will have everything they did before Major League Baseball will count now. Steve, what's your opinion?
Well, I think you've gotten to the important point number 15 starting there. I think marrying these two leagues together and calling them one. I mean, Mike, they're taking 7 Negro leagues and marrying them into one. It's not like they're taking what Major League Baseball consisted of, which was an American Conference in a national division or whatever, however it was. You're taking seven different leagues with different. Some had probably different rules. Some had different stipulations. Obviously, you've got a tremendous dilution of talent with 7 leagues going on. It's like saying we're going to make all AAA and above major leaguers now too, because their next step is the major league. So before we even get to the individual things, you got to talk about the whole concept of trying to say that you can marry these two fine leagues. And I don't want to take anything away from the Negro leagues. Nobody does. I don't believe so. But to say that they can be melded into one by Elias Sports Corporation, which is the official stats keeper for Major League Baseball, I don't think it's a good call. I think it's a disservice to both sides of the fence.
I don't. I think they should be included. I think there is a precedent for this. And I mean, I wrote an article about the 10 greatest Negro League players of all time. I've written an article about Josh Gibson. And the thing that I do remember the most is this. There were findings by the Major League Baseball Special Baseball Records Committee. I believe it was in 1968 or 69. And you remember the old baseball encyclopedia, the book that was like this big,
Yeah,
gave you the
I think I
record
had
of
a
anybody.
copy of it at one time. Yeah,
Anybody that ever scratched their balls in Major League
had
Baseball
a copy of it. Yeah,
was in that book, which, you know, if their balls itched, they could have went to Manscaped and done some manscaping. That's a shameless plug. But in 1968 or 69, there was an all-white 5-man body that bestowed Major League status on 6 circuits, including some such as the 1884 Union Association, which only lasted for 1 year and whose level of play was far lower than that of the Negro Leagues. But because of the prejudice of the days in the late 60s, the SBRC didn't even discuss allowing the Negro Leagues into there. So the SBRG's ruling remained in effect until today. So my thing is this, Steve, you've already got leagues like the Union Association of 1884 that are included as major league records. Why don't you include the Negro Leagues, which should have been included when they included the Union Association?
Mike, there are 35 Negro League players in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Exactly. So why wouldn't you marry the fact
but when you start messing with stats and records in baseball, and I'm using this as an example. I don't know the answer to it. I'm sure we'll get a note here from somebody in a minute to clarify. I mean, thank you for doing that. But does all of a sudden Nolan Ryan become not the most prolific strikeout king in the history because some guy in a Negro League, played till he was 60 and struck out, 8,000 batters, 4,000 of which were probably at best minor league players by Major League Baseball standards. But yet he's now going to get accredited with that. And you have a guy like Nolan Ryan who played against the top level of his talent his entire career. Another example is Ted Williams. Ted Williams is often credited, only credited as the last player ever to hit 400 in 1941. Now they're going to come around and say Josh Gibson batted 443 in 1943. Did Josh Gibson face the pitchers that he did?
Josh Gibson faced Satchel Paige.
No, and Josh Gibson's I know, but because he says Josh Gibson's a great player. There's no doubt. And
Wait a second,
Steve, in the Hall of Fame.
Steve, this is the thing, though. Ted Williams didn't face Satchel Paige. Ted Williams didn't face the pitching that Josh Gibson faced. And there was a lot of pitchers played in the Negro leagues back there that were better than major league pitchers. So when you use that, you've got to use it both ways. Babe Ruth didn't face the best of the best. Nobody did because they were separated. And the other thing is this. Right now, these people were separated. I mean, the blacks and the whites were separated because of their race. There was no basis to keep them from playing against each other. And when you look at the barnstorming tours that like Satchel Paige and Babe Ruth's teams did, the African-American players more than held their own with the white players. So I think that when you look at the fact that you had 6 different organizations called Major League Baseball in 1968, and they included a union association, which most of the guys never even made it to a major league team after their 1 year, that was racism also. And the thing is this, I don't like the culture of, all the racism that's brought in, but it's just a fact that this happened. And you can sit there. The only pitcher I know of that pitched into his 60s or early 60s was Satchel Paige, and he was doing it in 1959 in the major leagues that old. Satchel Paige was very successful when he, in 1949, 1950, when he was in his mid-40s against major league pitching. So the fact that you've got 25 Negro League players already in the Baseball Hall of Fame
35.
would tell me 35. Well, that tells
35.
me right there, guys like Oscar Charleston, Cool Papa Bell, how are you going to have them in the Hall of Fame if you're not going to include their records? And when you talk about the records,
and therein lies my argument. I don't disagree with what you just said to any degree. You're right. Babe Ruth never faced Satchel Paige in his prime, and likely Satchel Paige would have gotten the best of Babe as many times as Babe would have gotten the best of Satchel. They both were 2 of the greatest players ever to play the game. But you're talking about starting to want to migrate apples and oranges in terms of records, together, and I don't think that's fair to anybody involved. Why can't you just have everybody integrated into Major League Baseball, and we have a set of Major League records for that era from 1920 to 1948 are the years they're going to use to integrate. Okay? And those are the years that they're going to look at statistically to integrate these players in. Why don't you just say, yes, the Negro Leagues are now part of Major League Baseball. They're going to be recognized. We're already recognized. We put 35 Negro League players in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Okay, so we're already recognizing the Negro Leagues as being a viable entity. But why don't we just say, here are the record holders for the Negro Leagues in that era, and here are the records for Major League Baseball. Then when Robinson integrates, there's another one that goes. Is Jackie Robinson no longer the first player, African-American player to play baseball in the Major League?
He would have still have integrated it, Steve. What they're saying is he got the records. And the thing is this, you've ignored this. In 1969, they included 6 inferior leagues in the Major League Baseball's records, which are there now. So the other thing is this. I don't think
6 inferior leagues. Elaborate.
I already did. 1884, the Union Association. In 1969, they had a 5-man panel for Macmillan's Baseball Encyclopedia that voted to allow all these other leagues' records be combined and call them major leaguers.
All right.
They would not even consider the Negro leagues. And the thing is this, if you keep them separate, the major leagues is always considered superior. And it shouldn't be, because it was wrong to not let people play just because of the color.
It stopped being superior after 1948 when Jackie came into the league.
But now this is the thing. It became superior as a league. I would say this. How about we just cancel out any record before Jackie Robinson came into the league in 1947? Because both records are skewed because neither side got to play against the best competition. And if you look at the barnstorming tours African-American teams did against Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, the African-American teams won damn near as many games as they lost. The difference wasn't that much. And plus, you got to remember this. The Negro Leagues weren't just the Negro Leagues. You also had Latin American players that weren't allowed in there. And if you look today, there's more Latin American players in the major leagues than there probably are whites or blacks.
Jesus, Mike, that's like saying we got to change the NBA records too, because I can guarantee you that for every star in the NBA, there are 10 kids that never made it out of the Bedford-Stuyvesant playgrounds in New York.
What the hell's that got to do with anything? If you didn't make it out, you didn't make it out. They
never got to play against the best talent. Yet there are kids out there that you hear legend all the time about playground players that said, "Oh man, Walt Frazier could have never handled this guy.
Yeah,
Chamberlain would have never been able to handle this guy." That's an old story. It's told all over the place.
You know what's an old story? An old story is white people that kept black people out of being able to have equal footing. And they were not allowed to play, and they weren't allowed to play till 1947. And you can sit there and you can shake your head and say, tough shit, what they did shouldn't matter. The problem is you can change a little bit of the injustice that was done then by allowing them in the record book. It doesn't hurt anything because, Steve, let's face it.
Put them in the record book.
Hey, well, you just said you don't want them in the record book.
I don't think it's justifiable to either league, because there will be Negro League players who hold records in Negro Leagues that are now washed out by a white player who said, no, Mark McGwire hit more home runs than some other player.
It's
a two-way street there.
No, that's the bullshit of your argument, because Mark McGwire never hit more home runs.
I'm just using names.
No,
that's
I mean, the thing is this, though, Steve. I mean, they still allow record holders to be steroid guys. I mean, Barry Bonds holds the record for home runs.
We're not talking steroids now.
Yeah, we are.
Let's get into COVID. No. Let's get into COVID right now and get that off your plate.
You're talking right now.
Jeez, no, don't get into steroids.
This is the same thing you always do. Why wouldn't you get into steroids? Because you're talking about the purity of baseball records.
Because we're talking about marrying two leagues into one league.
Yeah, we're talking about a justice that should have been done in 1920. Should be done now. If it can be fixed, it should be fixed.
I agree to the entire degree that they should be recognized as the greatest baseball players that have played the game in the history of the game. Okay, and like I said, we've got 35 members. Hell, yeah. I don't even know if there are 35 Yankees in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure there are.
That'd be an awful lot of Yankees. The point is this, Steve. I don't know.
35, so we have recognized the great talent in that league. I'm just saying I don't think it's right or in the best interest to start messing with the records as they're sitting today.
They've already been messed records. With. They were messed with in 1968 when they included 5 or 6 inferior leagues.
Okay, wait. How many times have you heard, and you'll rip on me about this because it's not a sport, NASCAR has modern era records and early year records. Yeah. So they actually break it down and say the modern era winner. And here's what happened. Here's what happened. Richard Petty owns the record for 200 wins in his career. Richard Petty was the only factory team in NASCAR in his era, in the early part of his era. They ran 2 to 3 races a week. Okay, so he had infinitely more opportunity to win. All right, so and now they go back to the uniformity. There was no rules in NASCAR at that point in time. It's just whatever you wanted to do. It was a free form. So, and that has nothing to do with baseball either. It's just an example of let's have a modern era and let's have a golden age era, or whatever you want to name it. But to sit there and say that now Ted Williams isn't going to be the last player to bat 400 after he's been recognized as
he wasn't the last
400. He was the last major league player.
Oh, okay. But he was the last person that was white and allowed to do it, is what you're telling me. I mean, because Josh Gibson didn't get a chance to do it. I think this. If you watch anything on Josh Gibson could have very easily pulled that off in Major League Baseball. Josh Gibson
is the middle word in life.
No, it's not. Because this is the thing.
It is. LIF.
It's bullshit. It was proven when Josh Gibson played against Major League pitching. It was proven repeatedly when they played against Major League pitching in the winter.
He batted 443 against Major League pitching.
He batted more than that.
He did, really?
Yeah, look up the record.
For his career from the minute he played in the majors on, he batted in the 400s.
No, I'm saying in those barnstorming tours.
He had a hot streak.
Oh, he had a hot streak. All right, so
George Brett had a hot streak. Wade Boggs had a hot streak. They couldn't get it done, though. They couldn't pull it off.
Who couldn't pull it off? Josh Gibson.
I have no problem with the marrying of the two leagues. I think that the Negro leagues were every bit integral important to the development and where baseball sits today. I'm just saying, to sit there and to be able to think you can mesh all these records into one pile of records is ludicrous, and it's disserving to both sides of the fence, in my opinion.
Well, I think that the only thing that's been disserving is to the black players that never got the chance. If you're Oscar Charleston,
I agree with that.
No, you don't, because you want to keep them out of the record.
No, I don't.
Dude, Oscar Charleston was one of the greatest center fielders that ever lived. He never got a chance. If Willie Mays would have been born 15 years earlier, he never would have played Major League Baseball. Why can't you allow these guys in? It does not hurt anything.
They're going into Major League Baseball. They're eligible for the Hall of Fame.
They're already eligible. That's my point. If they're already eligible for the Hall of Fame, how are they not major leaguers?
Nobody's arguing that point to you. All I'm saying is, don't marry the statistics.
Why not?
Keep separate stats for the two leagues through 1948.
Okay.
After 1948, marry them.
No. You can't marry him after 1948 because the Negro leagues are gone.
That's when the blacks started playing in the major leagues.
They started playing in 1947. It was just Jackie Robinson until I think Larry Doby was the first American League player. So,
no.
But what I'm telling you is this:
we're getting bad comments.
Not that I know of. No, I was getting good. Now,
you were getting good comments.
Everybody
loves you, good pastor.
Josh Gibbs' career slash line is 365.
I figured Sheridan's written a book about now.
365, 449, 690. I mean, those numbers compare with Jimmy Fox, Ted Williams,
400.
Babe Ruth. What?
It's not 400.
I hate to tell you this, but neither was Ted Williams for his career. I mean, for Josh Gibbs' career, he had a 365 lifetime batting average.
Mm-hmm.
He hit over
Babes. Babes was right around there too, wasn't it?
Babes was like 339. The highest was Ty Cobb.
What was his?
367.
367, yeah.
Now, this is the thing, though. The difference between Ty Cobb and Gibson is this. Gibson hit 80 home runs in a season. He 700-foot home runs. I mean, he was maybe the greatest Negro League player of all time. He may be the greatest baseball player of all time.
Mike,
what?
What's the difference between a 337-foot home run and a 700-foot home run?
Well, the one will get you paid much more than the other.
Oh, okay.
So
if I hit 25 700-foot home runs, yet I hit 85 337-foot home runs, the guy hitting 700 home runs is going to get paid more.
I'm trying to give you the difference.
Your argument's ridiculous.
My argument's ridiculous.
On that point, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. This is the thing. The difference is this. How many home runs did Ty Cobb hit?
You see the problem there, Mike?
How many home runs did Ty Cobb hit?
I have no clue how many.
So I'm giving you this. I'm giving you a guy who batted 365 lifetime, and you asked what's the difference between that and Ty Cobb at 367. I'm going to say about 700 home runs he hit, over more than what Ty Cobb hit.
Okay, Ty Cobb wasn't a home run hitter.
No, Josh Gibson did everything. Josh Gibson is the only catcher that can be in a conversation.
And he's in the Hall of Fame.
And exactly. So why can't his records count?
Because he didn't play day in and day out. So against the same talent, as Babe Ruth's records should not count in the Negro leagues. Then let's go back and give Babe Ruth the home run record in the Negro league.
You don't understand the fact that Josh Gibson,
because essentially what happens is that if we marry the Negro leagues into Major League Baseball, the Negro leagues cease to exist. They just become Major League Baseball.
Dude, that's what they should be. That's what they want to be. Why would they not want to be that, Steve?
Then go with it.
We're not allowed to do that. You're against allowing them to do that.
No, I'm not. I'm against allowing the stats to be married. I'm not against marrying of the leagues at all.
Yeah, you are, because we're talking about marrying of the stats. You don't think that their stats should count for Major League Baseball stats?
I don't think that they're congruently equal.
So the 1884 Union Association is all right, though. I've never heard you bitch about that.
I did not know that had happened.
In 1968, they completely ignored letting the Negroes in, Negro League records in, but they let 5 other predominantly completely white leagues. They approved them to be in. I'm just telling you this.
What was the span of time from these leagues they let in? From 1884 to when?
1884 to like 1928.
Okay, so Major League Baseball was well into its existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's just as wrong as allowing for statistical purposes only. That's all.
All right, so you realize that black players
well, okay, then if you're going to do that,
allowed to play, right?
Then you have to take the MLB off the records, and you just have, here are the historical baseball records of all time. No longer are they MLB records.
Well, to me, it just sounds like no respect for the Negro Leagues, because the Negro Leagues are as good as the Major League.
Don't throw that on me. No, I have all the respect. Same respect you have.
It's what this is the thing.
It's just that you can't marry the stats. You can't just say apples are equal to oranges.
Yeah.
Or oranges are equal to apples. I don't care which one you assign to which league. So we no longer have Major League Baseball records. We have now historical baseball records. Is what we're going to have.
Major League records, Steve. They're Major League records. I mean, those guys were not allowed to play because of the color.
All right, call them Major League, but it's not Major League. It's not MLB records.
Yeah, they are.
It's just Major League Baseball records. If you want to call it that, do it.
That's what it is.
No, well, it's Major League records. Sure.
You're saying that the Major Leagues were infinitely better than the Negro Leagues play.
No, I am not saying that. I'm saying
why would you care?
It was infinitely different. Not better, different.
Yeah. All right. Well,
do you think you're better than me?
At what?
Yeah, we're infinitely different. We're different, but I don't know that one's any better than the other. I just say we're infinitely different. We coexist.
I don't know what that's got to do with records.
It just we're two separate entities.
Well, yeah, everybody's a separate entity from everybody else. So
right. So are baseball records.
So nobody.
They should stay separate entities.
They're not separate entities. It was wrong, Steve. They didn't let people play because
it was. Mike, you keep hammering on that. I agree with you on that.
This is what you don't get.
I agree with you.
This is what you don't wrong. Get. Is that an injustice?
Is what an injustice?
That they were not allowed to play because of the color.
Well, it's an injustice in this era that we live in now. In 1900, it wasn't considered an injustice.
It was.
That's historical growth.
It was considered injustice by a lot of people.
Okay, but by the
no, it was. I mean, I don't think
it was widely accepted by a lot of people too.
I don't think it was
including a lot of blacks.
I don't think it was widely accepted, Steve, and I don't think it was widely accepted by blacks. They had to start their own league. They didn't want to start their own league. If you look at the NFL from 1920 to 1928-29 had black players. They had black quarterbacks. Nobody cared. The fans didn't get mad. The only reason they stopped African Americans from playing in the NFL was George Preston Marshall, who came in as the owner of the Washington Redskins. Well, they were the Boston Redskins when he first got in there, or the Boston Braves, and it became Redskins. But he didn't like the fact that blacks were allowed to play. He coerced the other owners to agree with him. And then you went from 1930, 31 until 1945, 44, somewhere around there, before African Americans were allowed to play again. So I don't think that this is something where the majority of people, maybe the majority of people did, but I don't think it's any more than a 70-30 or 60-40 majority. And the fact is this, even if everybody thought it was okay, it wasn't. So why not give them this record? I mean, these records have already been so bastardized anyways that it's just absolutely stupid. I mean, it's been bastardized because, you can take your steroids, you can do all this shit. You talk about Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan was on steroids. I mean, Nolan Ryan was a guy who, when he was 40 years old, was throwing the ball 94, 95 miles an hour. At 43, he's throwing the ball 98, 99 miles an hour.
Maybe the guy's just got talent.
No, see, this is the thing. Nolan Ryan,
he's one of those once-in-a-lifetime pitchers.
Well, maybe Barry Bonds is a once-in-a-lifetime hitter. This is the thing. Nolan Ryan will never get busted on that. Nobody will ever say anything because everybody loved Nolan Ryan. Bonds was an asshole. Everybody hated him, so they attacked him. Mark McGwire doesn't get near as much shit as Barry Bonds does. And that's just because Nolan Ryan and Mark McGwire, Golden Goose, nobody's going to say anything about Nolan Ryan. But it ain't normal to be 45 years old throwing a no-hitter, throwing a ball 100 miles an hour.
Well, I think to get to that, and I'm sorry, I wasn't in the training room or wherever he was shooting himself up if that's the case, and neither were you. So to make those accusations, you're crossing the line there.
Oh, am I crossing the line because I made an accusation? All right.
Well, I'm just saying, whether it does or not, I don't know. It does seem to the ability he had to throw a baseball, but I've also heard the other side that he had the perfect motion on his arm. His arm could have thrown until he was 80. His muscles would have eventually worn out, but he had the perfect throwing motion. He never had arm surgery. He never had trouble with his arm, and he fired 98-mile fastballs all his life.
All right.
All his baseball career. So back to the other thing.
No, hold on. The big thing with Nolan Ryan and the steroids is this. Tom House was his training buddy. Tom House was his pitching coach and training buddy. House was an admitted steroid user, and there were many players that came out, there were at least a handful that I could show you right now that said he was using them, but nobody said anything because they're not going to say anything about him because he's popular. Everybody loves him. It's the way of the world, If everybody's on your side, they'll look.
We've gotten off track. Off track here.
I don't think we got off track because we were talking about baseball.
I think you're wrong. You're wrong in my perception. I think I'm all for putting the Negro leagues in with the Major League Baseball players and said it is now one baseball history, one baseball era. However, I think to sit there and start pulling records away from players who played in a different environment on both sides of the fence.
No.
On both sides of the fence.
I think
not just protecting white players, but there will be black players who will lose some of that notoriety and those records as well.
How about this, Steve? How about this? Who is the all-time leader in stolen bases in Negro League history?
I have no idea.
All right. Who is in Major League Baseball history? Ricky Henderson?
I believe he is, isn't he?
Yeah. Who's the all-time home run king in Major League Baseball?
Oh, is Hank Aaron still?
Well, if you don't include the steroids, yeah. Who's the all-time Major League or who's the all-time Negro League home run hitter?
I don't know.
Okay. So this is my point. You are going to take these guys, even if you switch the records. I don't think African Americans did maybe lose the stolen base record because maybe they didn't steal as many bases as Ricky Henderson. They're going to be upset because all of a sudden, maybe they're 6 all-time in Major League history. They're going to be more known. This is the thing. You don't know who holds all these records. I don't know. I know some of them. I know Josh Gibson hit 800 home runs or right around there, so he would be the all-time home run king. But
period. He would be the all-time home run king, period, wouldn't he?
Yeah, except for maybe Sadahara O, but we don't include Japanese records because they are inferior.
Let's bring them into it too.
Nobody keeps them out. There's all kind of Japanese playing in Major League Baseball now. The ones that are good enough play here. But the thing is this. You just admitted you don't know who holds those Negro League records.
I don't know. Who holds the Major League record for home runs right now?
Well, it'd be Bonds.
Is it Bonds? Okay, I don't even know
that. To me, it's Hank Aaron because he wasn't juiced.
I don't follow baseball that closely.
It's obvious today, Steve.
I follow human rights.
Actually, you don't, or you would be on my side. All right, let's go ahead and let's do a little switch, and let's talk about
wait. So what
All right, we'll
happens?
stay there. What happens with what? I don't think we're the two to decide it. I think it's already decided, Steve.
No, I got a call from Bowie Kuhn.
Bowie Kuhn's dead, Steve.
Oh, is he? Damn.
He deserves to be dead, too, because he stopped the Reds from trading for Vita Blue in 1977.
I would love to have seen that move.
Me, too, because they may have won 3 or 4 in a row then. Vita Blue was a bad dude. Liked the Coke, too.
So,
All right.
So basically, to wrap this up, this is a done deal. They're going to, for all rights and logical reasons, they have pretty well married now Major League and the Negro Leagues into one Major League Baseball.
The way it should have been done in
1969. Okay, and I'm 100% in your camp on that one.
And in 1969, these records should have been included.
This when they included the cheesy leagues from the 1800s, they should have included the Negro League.
This is the thing, Steve. The thing that pushes me towards they should marry him is that, because what I read about that, I wrote the Josh Gibson article like 4 years ago. And when you read that, damn, that was in our lifetime that was done, where you had 5 white guys that wouldn't even consider the Negro Leagues, but they let the 1884 Union Association record stand. And they totally ignored the African-American player.
Yeah, no, it was wrong, too.
I just think that the more notoriety you can give the Negro League ball players, I think the better it is for all of baseball, including Major League Baseball.
Then why can't you just have 2 sets of records up until 1948?
Damn,
and then when the leagues integrated in 1948 and Negro League players started migrating over, then you have modern era Major League records. Otherwise, what you're going to get is the Roger Maris thing.
Steve,
you're going to get an asterisk over the thing for the rest of his life.
Does anybody believe
one with an asterisk?
Steve, does anybody believe Cy Young was the greatest pitcher that ever lived?
No,
but he won 511 games,
yeah,
and he won the game. No, he won the games because it was
Richard Petty theory
back then. He pitched every 3 days,
right?
And I mean, they never took him out of the game, and it was just different. And yeah, I think that all leagues probably should have modern day records. In early era records, they don't. African American players deserve to be included in this. They were kept out for too long, including just 50 years ago when they could have easily been allowed in. You're already letting them in the Hall of Fame, which says that you do believe that they were some of the greatest players that ever lived.
You recognize their greatness.
You need to recognize their records too.
Okay. Well, and I say the way to do that now is to keep separate records until 1948. And then after 1948, it all becomes a Major League record.
Well,
because that's when the integration of baseball started. 47 with Robinson. And then from then on, other teams started migrating black players over from the Negro Leagues. And I think at that point forward, it's all fair game for anybody to break a record. I think prior to that, to say that Babe Ruth wasn't the home run king that Josh Gibson was, and I don't even know if they even played in the same eras.
Hey, they did. They played against each other in barnstorming scores, and they both shows.
When they faced different pitching, they faced a multitude of different things that we're not going to spend a lot more time going into.
It all evens out the pitching they faced because you would have had less. They would have both faced much better pitching, and maybe not had as good a records either one of them if it would have been combined. So this is all.
Babe Ruth may never gotten to 714.
I think the Major League record book is all bullshit, anyways. That's why I think it should be included, just to give them their say too. It goes from the dead ball era, which is why Ty Cobb didn't hit a lot of home runs. You got the steroid era where everybody hit 50. So I think the record book has already been skewed so bad just by the history of the sport and the things that have gone on. That's why I don't think this is a big deal. If you would have asked me this 30 years ago, I'd have probably been on your side. But the way this has went, I think we just need to get them recognized as much as they can. I think that everybody that loves baseball should go read about Josh Gibson, should read about Oscar Charleston, Cool Papa Bell. These were some of the greatest players that ever lived. And I think that the more people can understand that history, the better it is. And that's why I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'll close on this. I think that you immediately marry the heritage and history of the Negro Leagues and incorporate them into every part of the lore and legend of baseball as it grew. Every part of it.
Including the records. All right. Let's go.
Keep the records separate until 1948 when the blacks started facing the whites on the baseball diamond.
Yeah, but the thing there is this, Steve. I mean, there were Major League Baseball teams that didn't have a black player like the Red Sox until the early 60s.
But they were available for him. That was by choice. That was by choice. They chose not. At that point, it was by choice.
What?
If they didn't have it after 48, that was the team's bigotry.
Yeah, but that was the team's bigotry before that too, Steve. You understand that, right? It was the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Team's bigotry by the owner.
It was the Brooklyn Dodgers that were all right. You know, Satchel Paige, Larry Doby with the Cleveland Indians. Sorry, I said Indians. I hope that doesn't piss anybody off.
Hey, I bought a Cleveland Indians sweatshirt.
You might as well now. They'll be worth something.
I got it for half price.
Yeah, there you go. So I
it's
just
a little big, but it's on stuff they had.
Ow, shoot. All right, let's go ahead. Let's talk about the college playoff football scam. I mean, the college football playoff rankings, because this is like the worst rankings I think they've ever come out with. Now, the latest college football playoff rankings came out Tuesday. It had the same 5 teams in the top 5: Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, Texas A&M in that order. Now, not completely against it, but not completely for it, especially with the 4 and 5 spots. But the thing that's really mind-blowing to me is the Florida Gators dropped 1 spot to number 7 after they lost to an unranked LSU team that they were favored by double digits over. The Gators were 3 touchdown favorites to win that game. They lost at home, and they will face Alabama in the SEC title game. If they win, they're going to the playoffs, which is a joke just because of how bad they were beaten by LSU. I'm sure they only dropped them 1 spot so they can put them back in the top 4 if they get lucky and beat Bama. Georgia's the other team. Georgia's at number 8. They've lost 2 games, and those losses were ass kickings by Alabama and Florida. They keep them at 8. Iowa State is ranked number 6. Iowa State lost to Louisiana Lafayette at home, first game of the season, by 20 points. They've lost 2 games. At number 9, the Cincinnati Bearcats. The Bearcats are undefeated. They were up to like 6 or 7 a couple weeks ago, but because of COVID, didn't get to play for a couple weeks. But they are an undefeated football team that has played a schedule, the only schedule in the top 10 that's been played against teams with winning records. They've beaten a handful of teams that were ranked in the top 25 at different points during the season. And they play Tulsa this weekend in Cincinnati for the AAC championship. To me, this looks like Iowa State, Florida, and Georgia are sitting there to block out any non-Power 5 teams, Steve.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit.
What's a better solution?
A better solution is to put the teams that deserve to be there in there.
How do you do that?
Well, you actually have rankings that are legit, that aren't fixed. I mean, right now, this is not...
Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in Indiana.
And what town?
Lawrenceburg.
What's the nearest big metropolis near you?
Aurora.
Let's go. I know they make a lot of caskets there.
Yeah, it's Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. So is there a little bias there towards Cincinnati?
No.
I got a little bias toward Indiana.
I've got bias towards Indiana. If Indiana played Cincinnati, I would probably cheer for Indiana. My bias here is this. I think that undefeated Cincinnati should be ahead of Florida, Georgia, and Iowa State, and probably Texas A&M and Ohio State. I think Cincinnati should be 4. Ohio State's 1 win that even matters is against Indiana, who's a good team, but how good are they? They're beating Big Ten competition, and everybody in the Big Ten sucks except for Ohio State. And Ohio State only beat Indiana at home by 7 points. Ohio State, even though they made a rule that you had to have 6 league games to play in a league championship game, well, Ohio State's only got 5, so we're going to change the rules so Ohio State can jump in there. What do we think happens if Northwestern only played 5 games?
How many of those games were forfeit or not played because of Ohio State's fault?
I have no clue, and it doesn't matter. They weren't played. No, it's not, because there was no rule in there that if the games were canceled because of Ohio State or not, it's just you have to play 6 games.
Who canceled the Michigan-Ohio State game? Harbaugh or...
Harbaugh didn't cancel it. Michigan
Michigan canceled it.
Players sick.
Michigan canceled it, or did Ohio State cancel it?
I think I just said Michigan.
Okay, well,
I don't think that.
Hey, we can't screw Ohio State by beating them. We'll screw them by making them not eligible to play.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure Michigan did that on purpose. I'm sure Michigan doesn't want to save their season by taking a shot at Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh can save his job and become a legend if he wins that game. So I think it's completely.
Well, I read Jim Harbaugh's already saved his job. They're already in contract extension negotiations right now.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, in the future, he needs a win against Ohio State. I don't know why he wouldn't want to win.
Period.
Yeah, right now he does. But I mean, the thing is, when you look at Ohio State, their next best win is going to be Northwestern. I mean,
okay, Mike, but I go back to my same question. It does appear at this point it's becoming a made-for-television contest right now, or a ranking system, where you not only have the two semifinal games at stake on January 1, you've got what, 6 other bowl games or 4 other bowl games.
The thing is this: I don't think it matters.
It's bread and butter.
I don't think it matters how big the programs are, Steve. Iowa State.
Well, no, but you've got important games.
Listen, Iowa State does not have the following the University of Cincinnati has. They just don't. But the thing Iowa State has is this: they're a Power 5 conference. And we've went over this before. If all the Power 5 conferences have all 4 teams, all the millions of dollars go to just Power 5 conferences. If a UCF a couple years ago, a Memphis last year, or a Cincinnati this year gets in, 25% of that money doesn't go to the Power 5 schools anymore. That's what this is about.
All right. Okay. Well, let me ask you another hypothetical question. Given everything being equal, and we'll have to go back to probably the 70s or 80s to make this scenario work. In the 70s, who were the greatest boxers, not middleweight or not heavyweight?
Not heavyweight in the 70s?
70s and 80s, that era.
70s and 80s?
I think Leonard, I'm thinking of Marvin Hagler,
Ricardo Duran.
Yeah, Duran. Now, who were the great heavyweights?
In what, the 70s and 80s? Ali, Foreman, Frazier.
What do you think people would rather see? Ali box Frazier again, or Duran box Sugar Ray Leonard again?
Well, I can tell you this.
Now, I know what you're going to say.
It would be a tie. It's a tie. There's no better fight. The better fight is Ali Frazier.
What are people going to want to see?
But I can tell you this: when you look at the numbers, they're going to want to see Ali because he's Ali.
Right.
There's no Ali here. I mean,
Ohio State. And Cincinnati to Cincinnati.
How about this? In the 1980s, Larry Holmes was the heavyweight champion. People much rather watch Sugar Ray Leonard and much rather watch Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler. I mean, I think it
depends on who Holmes was fighting.
Hey, this is the thing. I don't think that there's too many people in this world that would rather see Iowa State in than Cincinnati. Iowa State has proven they can't hang.
Why is the heavyweight fight always the last fight on the card?
It's not. The main event's always the last fight on the card.
Which is always a heavyweight fight.
It is?
When you're talking with the big boys, it is.
No.
I never saw Ali Frazier box before Hagler and Leonard.
I never saw Leonard and Hagler box before Ali and Frazier.
Yeah, because they wouldn't be on the same card because they're both headliners on the card.
Exactly.
Right. But I'm saying if. Because it's all hypothetically if. I do think the system is definitely skewed right now. Television becomes more critical than ever this year because they're going to get no sales off of tickets, no sales off of corporate suites.
You're still not understanding.
No sales off of sponsorship other than television sponsorship. That television audience becomes critical. And they're going to – what do you think Notre Dame is so – Notre Dame's got the biggest alumni base of any university in the world. Okay? Meaning there's going to be more people watching Notre Dame play on January 1.
About that. I think what we're talking about is this.
If Notre Dame beats
How about this? I think more people would watch Cincinnati play Alabama than they would watch Iowa State play Alabama.
I can't disagree with that.
Because Cincinnati is infinitely better than Iowa State.
Cincinnati's an undefeated football team.
And they're a lot better than Iowa State.
So there's a lot of people who want to see Alabama spank Cincinnati and say they should have never been undefeated to begin with.
Well, the problem with that is it would be nice if teams like UCF and Cincinnati that earns the right to do this would get a chance. Because this is the thing. They're not going to give them the chance for 2 reasons. Number one, it's the money. It's not the TV ratings. It's that millions of dollars that comes from the College Football Playoff Committee. They don't want 25% of that money going to Cincinnati or going to Coastal Carolina or wherever it is. I mean, because Coastal Carolina right now has a better resume than Iowa State, I think. Like
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina beat BYU, who was ranked number 11 at the time, and they played them on 2 or 3 days' notice. Why didn't Ohio State decide, well, hell, we'll play Indiana because Indiana-Purdue got canceled, right? So why didn't Ohio State just come to Indiana? They play another game, and you figure it out.
Well, they said the game wouldn't have mattered, and they didn't want to risk COVID, and they didn't want to get anybody hurt because even if Ohio State lost, the tiebreaker would have still gone to Ohio State.
Why's that?
I don't know. That's just what they said.
I mean, why don't you make it so if Indiana beats Ohio State by more than 7 points, they take the tiebreaker because then it's points per game between. And this is the thing. Ohio State didn't play that game for one reason. They didn't play anybody for one reason because they're set up. It's a setup. They beat Northwestern. They go to the college Final Four. What in the hell is that?
I know. I was reading that too. We got junk mail. Go ahead. Repeat what you just said again. I was reading the junk.
I said the reason Ohio State wasn't going to play a game in replacement was because they don't have to. All they got to do is beat Northwestern, and they're going to let them in the playoffs.
I don't think that the college football people wanted them to play. They didn't want to risk them losing.
No, they just want Ohio State's name because I can tell you this. Ohio State in the college football playoffs will get destroyed because their pass defense is horrible. They lost 3/4 of their secondary last year. Freaking Michael Penix is a above average college quarterback, and he almost threw for 500 yards on them. So what's Mac Jones or Trevor Lawrence or Ian Book going to do to them? They're going to torch their ass. But you get all your Power 5 teams in. And my problem right now is they put that blockade of Iowa State, Georgia, and Florida there just so there's no way Cincinnati would have a chance to get in.
But Mike, and ask you this question. Isn't that kind of why the Power 5 was created, to be like the heavyweights of college football, to be the Frazier Ali?
Well, if you're going to do that, why wouldn't you have the group of 5 just play for their own championship? Because I'll tell you what, I think when you look at the college football rankings, if you had a non-group of 5 Final Four, it would be Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, BYU, and Louisiana Lafayette. That would be a hell of a Final Four. Those would be good football games. Those are 4 teams all ranked in the top 18 in the country also.
Yeah, but you know, I see your point, but honest to God, you know, we won the NIT in 1979 when Michigan State and Indiana State were duking it out. We thought we were the second best college basketball team in the country that year, although Indiana State got there and we didn't. You know, we didn't feel that they played the talent that we played. They had Larry Bird, who was at that point in time the greatest college basketball player, and went on to become one of the greatest NBA players. But they played inferior talent than what we played on day. So, but really? That NIT, and I don't even know where my NIT ring is. It's in a box somewhere that I never even unboxed.
Well, this is the thing, Steve. That's a bad comparison. Because wait a second, Steve. The 1979 Indiana Hoosiers lost 12 games. They have no bitch. They finished 5th in the Big Ten. And my question is this: did you guys beat Purdue twice?
No, we never beat Purdue twice ever.
Okay, did you?
I never wanted Mackey Arena, and they never wanted us.
Okay, now this is the interesting thing about the Indiana State Sycamores.
We beat them twice, yes.
Wait a second.
We beat them in New York.
Wait a second. No, I mean you didn't beat them 2 for 2. The thing is this:
2 for 3.
The thing is this: Indiana State beat Purdue by double digits at Mackey Arena that year. To say the Indiana Hoosiers could have beat Indiana State in 1979 is really absurd.
We were not the same basketball team in New York or heading to New York that we were.
See, unfortunately, though, Steve, to be able to get to a big event, you have to be good all the time. And the thing is this: Indiana State was good all the time that year.
Yep.
And Indiana State smacked Purdue in 1978. Also,
like the 76 team, we're the only team in IU history to have a bona fide NIT and a bona fide NCAA. Not even the 76 team can claim that crap.
Claim what crap?
To have an NIT championship when the NIT mattered.
You can't win them both in the same year, so the same team.
No, we won the NIT in 79 and the NCAA in 81.
That's not the same team, but you know what? I'm pretty sure the 76 team is good with never winning the NIT.
Well, they won the CCA.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't care about that.
College Commissioners Association.
Yeah, I know what it is.
They don't care about it as much as we don't care about the NIT.
Nobody cares about the NIT.
Not anymore.
Especially now.
But they did in 79.
Yeah.
Because there weren't 65 teams or 68 teams going to the dance.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to college football.
Hey, remember this, though. Indiana State in 1979 at Purdue at Mackey Arena beat Purdue 63-53. So there you go.
There you go. No, Larry Bird, they had nothing for Larry. Yeah. There was, I don't know if we'd had anything for Larry.
You wouldn't have had nothing for Larry.
I would have gotten him in a fight, gotten his ass thrown out.
No, you wouldn't have. You never would have got near him to get in a fight because he would have taken you on the perimeter and he'd have drowned your ass.
He'd have done it one time, then he'd have been sitting right next to Knight.
No, he wouldn't, because if you'd have done that to him, he'd have got up and kicked your ass. He was just as big as you. He was 6'9". He'd have kicked your ass all day, Risley. Come on. It was Larry freaking Bird.
He would have kicked my ass with the basketball in his hand, without the basketball in his hand.
He would have kicked your ass
to watch.
Basketball. No, it wouldn't, because he was too.
It'd have been a top card draw.
No, it wouldn't have. It would have been
back to college football.
Undercard Isaiah versus Magic.
There's no doubt that this year, with the antics that went on with Ohio State.
Hey, is the fog moving in at your house?
Is what?
Is the fog moving in at your house?
No.
Thought you lived in San Francisco.
Oh, wow. What is that?
I know. I don't know.
Oh, that's
there we go.
It's, it's sunny and beautiful here. It's 82 degrees here.
Well, good for you. It's still L.A. It's not even part of this country anymore.
No, it's not. Trust me, it is not.
On the next show, you got to find out where Nancy Pelosi gets her hair done, and then you can go do it with her, and then maybe interview her during the show.
I know I do need a haircut badly, but we're all shut down. So Yeah. Well, I'm going to get one of those things that George Clooney uses, the whatever that vacuum cleaner is you stick up and it cuts your hair.
A vacuum cleaner?
The floppy or floopy.
Use the Manscaped.
I could manscape it. I could manscape my hair.
Yeah, use the lawnmower 3.0.
Let's
Promo
see.
Code PG.
Have them see if their manscape will cut hair.
It'll cut hair. It's
hair?
what it's for is cutting hair. You better want it pretty short.
Unlike you, I've got long flowing locks.
I know. That's like a girl.
That's all right. It's LA.
I don't want to go back to that. I'm tired of that. You got anything else?
No. We need to finish this up.
I already finished it.
I think that you're going to see this. This is going to continue to be the norm because it's so television money. It's so money driven. How many games are there total on the first? Are there 6 total, or are there 2 semifinal games and then 6 games?
For what?
Well, they talk about the Big Six. The Big Six.
Oh, the Big Six is just, it's the
but
game.
That's what everybody's gunning for.
They're saying Indiana's playing USC. Nobody cares about a Big Six game. If you ain't in the Final Four, it don't matter.
No, but, you want to play on New Year's Day. You want a worthy opponent, especially for Indiana, who's trying to establish themselves and make themselves more credible.
Damn. You know the Lions center, Frank Ragnow, fractured his throat in the game last Sunday?
No, I did not know that. That's too bad.
That sounds freaking painful.
Yeah, that would hurt.
Yeah. All right.
Thorax vertebrae.
All right. Whatever. You sound like a doctor when you talk like that. All right, Steve, anything else in the world you want to discuss before we wrap it up?
What else did we have? Were we going to talk? What we're going to talk about college basketball? We were going to talk. What we're going to talk about? We had something to talk about in college basketball while we were here.
We do?
I thought we did.
I don't know. I just know all's all right with the world because Kentucky sucks.
Yeah, and Duke sucks. How about Krzyzewski wanting to just pull the plug on his preseason?
Well, I think
more games.
He's worried about the safety of his kids.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you. I mean, if you look at the 2 teams he had non-conference.
Oh, I know what we're going to talk about briefly.
What?
About what they were going to do with the Final Four all being in Indiana, in central Indiana.
What do you mean? Well, I thought we already talked about that on last night's show that we just did by ourselves.
I wasn't on last night's show.
Yeah, you were. We talked about it by ourselves.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll save that one we'll save that for a topic for the next Survive and Advance.
Well, I mean, it's obviously
given the progression of this show will be in about 3 years.
Why? I thought the show was all right. It's funny how many people listen to it.
Oh, hey, and I want to thank Justin Clark for talking. Yeah, Isaiah Thomas won in college, won in the pros, beat Jordan. Jordan beat Isaiah, beat Magic. Magic beat
When did
Isaiah.
Jordan beat Isaiah after Isaiah was on a team that was old and broken down? Though?
Yeah, Bird beat Isaiah. So, but was Isaiah the greatest
beat
point
each other.
guard of all time? No, Isaiah Thomas was not the greatest point guard of all time. And he's a teammate of mine and a friend. I'm not going to his house for Christmas dinner. He's not coming to mine, but we are friends.
Well, no, because of COVID.
Well, yeah, we wouldn't be doing it even if it was COVID. Son of a buck won't even send me a case of his Cherylin champagne that he sells, and I'm hawking for him on this radio show right now.
Well, you weren't until you chose to, so it's not.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get a case of it for New Year's.
All right.
Send me a case.
You don't need a whole case for New Year's. Damn.
No.
Gavin Newsom said you can't have large congregations of people at your house. They'll shut your power off.
I'm going to Gavin Newsom's house.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Who's having a large party?
I'm sure he is.
Anyway, Justin, Isaiah Thomas was one of the greatest point guards in the history of the NBA. But to say he's the greatest of all time,
how about this, Steve?
I think is a little far-fetched.
I think he was the greatest point guard under 6'2".
Nate Archibald. I got to think of some.
Isaiah.
Yeah,
Isaiah in the clutch was just that. He was clutch.
No, Isaiah was clutch, and I played with him for 2 years. Roomed with him for a year.
And really, I think it's possible that Isaiah was better than Magic. It was just that height difference and the ability of Magic to play every position on the court. Which
I don't think I see your argument, but I don't think that Isaiah was as versatile as Magic. Could do as many things on the floor. Other than that, I think their ability to affect change in a basketball game was pretty equal.
Well, it seems like Bobby's enjoying our show so far. So.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, we'll get the GOAT thing about you.
Yeah, but he'll say you won the show and put a
he'll throw me a bone and say
he'll put a check mark.
He'll throw me a bone and say I did a good thing on something. Yeah, check a box, Bobby.
Or the check mark. Check mark, Bobby.
Check a box, Bobby. But we know that. Hey, and I'm gonna tell you what. How'd our picks come out?
I have.
Well, you and I, you picked the same.
Well, we ended up tied.
I
beat you by one, and I think
because you wouldn't let me pick on Thursday.
Okay.
So just make sure you call and get my pick on Thursday.
Who would you have picked? Well, you're going to be on the show with me tomorrow.
Who played Thursday? Don't tell me how you picked. Tell me who played. I don't even know who played Thursday.
Shit, I don't know. I don't. That was last Thursday. You're going to be on the NFL show tomorrow with me, ain't you?
I'll tell you why. Whatever game was last Thursday, they blacked it out in L.A.
Yeah, I remember you calling me and bitching about that.
Yeah, they did not show that game on Big Ten or on NFL Network or on Fox.
Was that the 49ers Bills? No, it wouldn't have been 49ers Bills.
No, I don't know who it was.
The Rams and somebody?
No, it wouldn't have been the Rams. They'd have showed the Rams.
It was a good game, too. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
So are you going to be on the NFL show with me tomorrow? And then we pick the games Friday?
What is tomorrow?
It's Thursday.
You want to be on tomorrow, NFL show?
Yeah. Sam's graduating. I told you this like a week ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do the NFL show with you tomorrow.
All right. And we'll talk about some stuff. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up. You can follow Steve Risley at SRisley34. You can follow me.
John Stockton's in the top 5. John Stockton may be one of the best point guards of all time.
Well, no, he is definitely one of the best point guards of all time.
With Mailman and
I would actually probably go Magic, Isaiah, and Stockton.
Though you would not lose anything with either one of those 3 players.
There's my son on the show as he walks by to go get a shower. You don't get that on ESPN.
He's going to take a dump.
Well, he's built like similar to a woman, though, if you saw how soft he is around the belly. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap the show up. We'll be back with the NFL show tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been listening and watching The Grueling Truth